guaranteed profit from trading in Mountain Blade to Bannerlord. And the reason I'm making this video is I've had quite a few requests from people to say, could I publish my list of minimum and average prices? And what I've done is I've put the list for the primary products into the video description. Apologies that the list is a little bit distorted. That's probably a quirk of YouTube. I can't seem to get the columns to line up completely accurately. What it is it's one product, and then it shows the minimum price and the average price. Now that list comes with a caveat, same as this video in general. I'm recording this at the end of May 2020 if you're watching this in the future, and the game is in early access, so there's a very real possibility that some products will be removed, or probably more importantly new products added, and there's also a chance that the prices may fluctuate as they balance the trading over time. But what I will say is the general principle of trading and how to make money, which I'm going to talk about, will remain true. It's been true for over 4,000 years since the first time somebody actually made money and somebody said, I'm going to go out with a trade caravan and make money. And that is that you buy low and you sell high. But more importantly, you've got to know where your profit margin is, and that is where the average price comes in. But more about that later on. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to go in and talk about a key mechanic which I've seen other people talking about videos about, and it's both a very useful mechanic and it's also a mechanic that can get the new player into trouble. So we'll be going and trade now. Of course, what we're going to do is come into here, and you can see straight away on the left hand side this is what's for sale, and on the right hand side is what I'm trading. Now if you look down where it says value, you'll see it goes green and it goes red. Now if you're a completely new player, you may not see this because I'm actually quite an advanced trader. But the key factor is as you mouse over each entry, you will see the drop down window appear, and then you will see what's called trade rumors. Now trade rumors are very useful, but at the same time they can mislead you. And probably a good example of this is if you come to butter. Now butter is for sale here at 12. Now I know from my list that is near enough rock bottom. In fact, cheese is probably a better example. That is rock bottom. That's the cheapest price I've found in the game, 16. Come across into here. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. You will see here that this number tells you that this item is for sale 60% cheaper than average. But what you will see associated with cheese is a whole list of rumors. Now the bottom rumors that are brighter are the current rumors. The rumors above are old rumors which are going stale, because what I've done is I've come a long way across the map, and so it's very easy to look at these rumors and think, yes, I can make a guaranteed profit. I can buy the cheese here for 16, which is minimum price, and I can go to Sinopia and sell it for 34. I can go to Markeb and sell it for 31. And more importantly, if you look up there, you can say, oh, I can go to Sargot and sell it for 38. Now that sounds very good for cheese, but the actual average price for cheese is 40. So the only settlement that actually was selling above the average price was a very old rumor right at the top, which is Sonea, which is 44. But if you decided to go right across the map to there, it probably won't be 44. I mean, you could take a chance, but it may not necessarily there. But so when you see these trade rumors, where you can sell is not so important as is where you can buy. And if you come down here, you can see it says Pottery here. You can buy in Sargot or Chakland for 54. Now, again, those actual buy prices are quite high, because I know that the cheapest price for Pottery is 30. So even if you go to Chakland, which is not that far away, you can buy it for 54. You're still pretty close to the average price of 80. But these rumors can point you in the right direction. But at the same time, I'm not knocking them completely, because you can see a cheese is 16. I've already got 52 cheese. What we'll do is, just as an example, what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll buy a whole pile of cheese. I've got quite a lot of carry capacity. Now, if you're a new player, if you're wondering how I've got this much carry capacity, it's down to the fact that I've got a lot of horses. I mean, I've got 64 sumpter horses, which if I actually show you the breakdown, it says, I mean, I've got a pack animal capacity of 8,000. And the reason it's saying 3,279 is because I haven't actually purchased the items that I've bought the cheese. 1,160 from spare mounts, because I'm carrying lots of horses. I don't like selling the good horses. I tend to hang on them to upgrade my army. Also, I'm carrying 42 step horses, Another reason for doing this is that I like to have horses for every member of my party so I can move quickly. The other thing also is I've got 16 old workhorses here, which I've bought very, very cheap. And later on in the video, I will show you a way that you can make money from old horses and even livestock. Anyway, back to what we were doing is I forgot what was the no, we bought cheese, wasn't it? And I've actually pushed the price up now, and we've got 132 cheese. And the rumor says that we can go to Markev for 31. That's exactly what we're going to do, just to show you how the trade rumor works. So we're going to come down to here. I mean, I paid 1,300. I mean, I got 54,000, so it's not a big problem. See, my gold exchange is my army's cost. Oh, it's Montag. I would like to actually talk to him actually, because I won't get distracted. Go and trade. We come up to here, and if you actually look at cheese, it says 35. So the price is actually slightly better for cheese. So this was a good rumor, but bear in mind that they're selling for 42. It says there you can buy in Buckhand for 16. So this is an example of how trade rumors work. That because I've just recently been to Baltakhand, I know the price. So what happens is that the rumors relate to where you've last been. Now, as the game progresses, and I think as you build caravans, you can get more up-to-date trade views. So what we can do here now is we can trade for this. Now we bought for 16. So we're in a good profit margin. But this is one of the problems with trading with rumors. You've got to try and remember what you bought it for, and was that a good price? I mean, 42 is 2 over the average price, so it is a good price. But at the same time, if you say you'd bought the cheese for say 31, 32, you'll see as I drop the price down here, you could get down to here, and eventually you could start losing money. Bought the cheese for 16, so we can probably come right the way down to, well, we can probably sell the lot, but I want to keep a little bit of cheese for my army. So we've made 3,231 from the cheese. Now the butter is the same. I know the butter is rock price, but you can see here the actual sell price for butter here is 20. Now that's well below the average price of 25. So even if I bought the butter at the minimum price, which is 11, there's not much profit in selling that. And this is where you've got to be able to balance your profit and loss margins and make money. And this is one way that if you buy products at random and you don't balance it against the low price and the average price, it's very easy to sell something and lose money. So that is something you do need to bear in mind. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cash in that, make the 1,000. Now what I want to do now is talk about the way I approach trading, and this is based on knowing the low price and the average price. But I also have a pretty good idea of what's a very good price. So if we go back in now in trade, so here we are, we're now back in, and I'm going to talk about the way I trade. So what I'm looking for is goods that I can buy from the city, which is close to the minimum price. So a good example here is fish. Now fish, the minimum price for fish is 6, but the actual price here is 9. So it says green and it looks good, and it says you can sell it in Sinopia for 23, but remember Sinopia is a long way away. Just to show you, if I come out here, Sinopia is right over here somewhere, if I can find it. There. So that's a long way to take an army, especially a big army, for what is a relatively small profit margin. This is something you need to worry about. So what you're actually really looking for is prices which are very close to the minimum, which you can then carry with you. And this is the important part of this technique. You need to be aware of how much you can carry with you for some time. Bearing in mind that if your troops get wounded or they get killed, your carry capacity drops. Plus, if you happen to strike lucky and get a big pile of looters, you need to be able to carry the loot as well. So bear in mind, you need to keep a little bit of a top up on your carry through. This is why if you're serious about trading, you do need the extra carry capacity. Anyway, so back to what we're doing. That is the basic principle. We are looking to buy cheap and sell at or above the average price. Although when I say at the average price, if you consistently buy within 10 or 20% of the minimum price, you can fluctuate around the average price for 10 or 20%. So you're not really looking for the super high prices, and what you're looking to sell is around the average price. If you happen to strike lucky and find a place where the price is very high, and then you're going to make even more profit. Now this takes me into the next layer of complexity, is probably the best way to describe it. And this is where a lot of new players can go wrong, because these trade goods can be literally split into 4 areas. And the first area is something I would call small profit, high volume. This isn't something you want to do when you're first starting out and you've got a small party of 10 or 20, because your carry capacity is about 1,000. And a good example of this is the fish. Now fish is available at 9, which is, I wouldn't buy fish at 9 to be honest, because it's still a little bit expensive compared to its minimum price of 6. But if for some reason, say for example, that was at 6 and you had a lot of carry capacity, you could buy fish and then carry it around for a little while, where you find somewhere that's prepared to pay above the average price, which is 16. And you can make a reasonable profit from it, but you need that capacity to make a big profit. Therefore, there's 4 goods which you really want to keep away from until you've got a large carry capacity like I've got here. And that is clay, flax, fish, and grain. But at the same time, I'm looking at this, and I've only got 1 fish left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy fish, but I'm not going to buy fish. In fact, I'll probably buy a fair amount of fish. So I'm going to buy about 68 fish. This is one thing about fish and grain, is you actually need that to feed your army. If I show you down here, I've got food supplies for 173 days. I know it sounds crazy, but because I'm a trader, I've got lots of different goods. I've also got a massive herd of sheep down here as well, which helps the things. So when you first start out, you buy fish and grain to feed your army. As you get more carry capacity, you can carry a little bit extra. You can see I've got 355 grain, which I've bought very cheap. In fact, I've bought the grain at the rock bottom price of 6. I mean, because the average price is 10. So what I could do is maybe sell some of this off, and that will offset some of my costs. I can go down, I think I'll go to about 11. You can see despite selling all that, I haven't made that much profit. So just to reiterate, clay, flax, fish and grain, it's really for someone who's really serious about trading like other playthrough I'm here. If you're going for a more combative style of play, just forget it. Just buy the fish and grain to feed your army. Now the next level up is what I would call early game products. These are products that you can turn a reasonable profit on, and you don't really have to carry much of them to make a profit. And more importantly, they are cheap. And these are cheese, butter, beer, grapes, hardwood, meat, olives, wool, and dates. And just for an example now, again, let's go back to good old cheese. You can see cheese is got a minimum price of 16, and which you can buy in Bhutan, and it's actually got a average price of 40. So if you buy some cheese and find somewhere with a price over 40, now the highest price I've ever seen for cheese is 97. So when you're first starting out in the game and your carry capacity is limited, these are the products you actually need to work on, because if you can get these cheap and you can buy say 100 items and you can find somewhere where it's actually worth more, this is where you can make your initial early game profit, is by literally as you're going through this and you can see what you're actually looking for to buy. Now cheese here is I wouldn't buy cheese here because it's 29. Now the average price is 40, but if I move down to hardwood here, now hardwood's a totally different kettle of fish here. Now hardwood, that is a very low price for hardwood, but the average price is 25. So 13 for hardwood is pretty good. I don't know if I've actually got, yeah, I've got hardwood here, which I've got 67 already. I could probably stock up on a little bit more there. I've got to keep an eye on my weight, but we can stock up on a little bit. But when you're buying, keep an eye on that price, because see it's gone up to 14. So it's very easy to do that. And now by doing that, I've bought a lot of hardwood. I know I'm overweight, don't worry about that. But I've effectively wiped out my profit margin, because what I'm actually doing is I've got getting very close to the average price. So what you need to do is just, I think I'm going to stick around about 13. I mean, I've got a lot of hardwood anyway. So that's an example of a good price. And I think that's about it. Normally you get one or two products which are normally based on what goes on around the city, the villages. So a good indication, just come out again, just here, of what you're liable to find cheap is here. In fact, if you come into here, well, I'm not sure why I'm doing it. If you come into back into trade, sorry about this, you will see that you've got salt, iron, and fish. So if you're coming into a city, one way to do this is to quite literally come into here and look at what's produced. You can see here it's now salt, iron, and fish. Now if I come down to iron ore, this is where you can get caught out, because it says green here, but if you actually look in there, the trade rumors is that it's actually 70% more expensive, because the actual average price of iron ore is 50. So that's well over the average price. So that is a trap. I mean, what you're looking for iron ore is down in the 30, 31, 32 level for iron ore. So despite the fact this being produced by iron ore is probably not a good idea. It's probably down to the fact that the ironmonger there, which is actually a smithy who happens to be owned by me, is actually consuming all the goods. So I think that goes through what I'd call the easy products. Now, next above that, you've got a series of products which tend to be becoming more expensive now. And these is cotton, fur, hides, linen, oil, pottery, salt, tools, wine, and iron ore. In fact, I've just been talking about iron ore. These are all products which are now, but you've got to have some capital to lay out, because they tend to be prices of 30 to 40 gold per individual item. So these aren't going to be cheap to buy. And if you've only got a few thousand gold, investing in, say, 50 or 60 iron ore is a little bit of a risk. So this is more for like the stage of the game I'm in now, where I've got 56,000, so I can afford to lay out 4,000 or 5,000 on the goods here. Now here's a reasonable example of possibly, if you've got the money, that you can take a chance on. Now it's saying tools is 55. Now the minimum price for tools is 30, but at the same time the average price is 70. Now I don't actually have any tools at the moment, and we've actually got a trade rumor there that we can sell in backhand for 110. So what we could do is we're just going to take a chance on this. I've got the money to do it. We're just going to come out here, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to come up here. So we're just going to come in here and trade. Back to here. And again, just a quick thing, you see that the here's sheep, flax, steppe horses, wool weaver, velvet cloth there. So we just look at tools now. It says 129 here. So that's a pretty good price considering what we paid for them. So what we can do now is just slip that in. But you've got to watch the price there. See, the price is dropping. Now, so what I would do is I'd only come down to just under the average price, and I'll keep the rest of the tools. And this is something you need to bear in mind, that just because the rumor says you're going to get a good price, check it. And this is where the average price comes in. That if you're selling something, once you get below the average price, that's the time to stop and say, right, I will now hang on to this till I go somewhere else where I can get above the average price again. And this is part of how the trading mentality goes. This is how caravans and traders have operated for thousands of years. You've got to know where your profit margin is. Forget that, we'll just sell that off. Come back in again, and what I want to do now is move on to what I call the luxury end of the market. Now these are, I think it's 4 products which you really need a certain amount of capital to take advantage of. This is jewelry, leather, silver ore, and velvet. Now I know up here that there's actually a velvet weaver. So if we come and look at velvet, it says 93. Now that is a little bit high because the minimum price I've got for velvet is 61, but the average price for velvet is 140. But there's also the highest price I've ever had for velvet is 347. This is something you would buy and carry around for some time on the off chance that you will go into a city, especially if you go into the Empire, where you may get a well above average price for it, or at least above the average price, even though the fact that we probably paid a little bit over the top in relation to the minimum price. But at the same time, if we get somewhere where we can get 250, that's a really nice big profit margin. And just to go through, I don't think they actually sell silver ore here. There's another thing you've got to need to remember is not every city sells every product. I don't think we've got leather here as well. No. So this is another, especially the luxury products. These are the products that turn up in different places. And we don't have jewelry in here either, so it's only velvet that's here. So that covers the main basic trading plots. Now down here, you've actually got sheep, hogs, and cows. Now what you will see is you will never get trade rumors for sheep, hogs, and cows. But what you will, but once you get an idea of the prices, so like at the moment, sheep is here is really cheap because there's actually a sheep farmer here, and so 20 is virtually rock bottom. I think the minimum price I've ever got for sheep is 19. You can sell them for 90 and 180. And one of the advantages of when you buy livestock is it doesn't add to your inventory. So like if, say for example, I now come in here, you will see if I buy all that, we'll buy that, not just for the fun of it. But be aware that sheep will slow down your army. So if you're carrying a massive livestock capacity, it will actually slow your army down. Actually, cows are quite cheap here as well. Hogs are, let's just go through this. Hogs are expensive. So the average price for a hog is 70. The average price for sheep is 92. So I wouldn't buy a hog here. Now, cows, that is a very low price for cattle. In fact, that's actually lower than my current lowest price. In fact, my previous lowest price was actually 100. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to buy the cattle as well. So we're just going to pick up. Just going to keep an eye on the price. I think we can go to about 70. So I've now got quite a big livestock operation going here, but it's pretty good. And I think just as an example, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go south to see if we can actually sell cattle. So I think what we're going to do is just come down here. Actually, no, let's just go back to Market just to show you how livestock prices vary. And we're just going to come in here. Of course, we can look at the livestock. You can see straight away cattle 119. So if we come down to cattle here, but the cattle price here is 98, but we could make a little bit of a small profit here. Maybe drop down to the 89. So we've made 846 profit here. So that's pretty good. And here's a good example of jewelry. You can see that if we'd had some jewelry on us, hitting here with a couple of items of jewelry, and probably it's quite important to say that the high value items like jewelry, silver, or velvet and leather tend to be very short supply. Like you don't get hundreds of items, you will get one or two. It's like the example here, leather. It's saying leather 393. Well, that's way above price. In fact, probably if we can get into here, I'll just show you. Sometimes it pays here. You can see that's 180% above average. So that is a guaranteed loss maker. Now, just to wind the video up, I just want to show you another trick you can do to make money. Now, we've got some villagers running there, aren't they? And what we're going to do is we'll come up to these villagers and come in here, and you'll see that they've got 20 old workhorses, which we can get for 240. So the going price is 12 gold. So we're going to buy all 20 workhorses. And then what we're going to do is come back down to here. And of course, one of the nice advantages of buying old workhorses is they do not add to your inventory. This is very much a technique you can use in the early game when you're actually trying to make a bit of cash. And what you can do is come into here, and the next thing you want to do is just check the price of meat. So I'm just going to come in here. Meat is 27. It's just below average. I think for the purposes of this exercise, it'd be okay. What you need to do is come out to the inventory, get to your workhorses. I've got 36 of them, and what we're going to do is just slaughter the horses. And what actually happens is when you slaughter the horses, you get 2 meat from each horse more. So if we go down to about 20. Now bear in mind that the value of the horse is 12. We've now got 22 meat here, and you can see here we've now got 32 meat. If we come in here now and trade, and come in here, look at meat, we're going to get 22, which is actually below average. But at the same time, we only paid 12 for one horse that's given 2 meat. We can say our production cost for the meat is actually 6. And you can see now we've made 341 gold. And this is very much a good trick for early in the game when you're probably a bit low on money, a bit low on storage. What you do is you just talk to villagers, preferably after they've left the city. If you talk to them when they're going to the city, They may have other goods which are a bit expensive, but when they're leaving the city, they've always just got their old workhorses. And what you can do is get the workhorses really cheap, butcher them, and then make a small profit. And it's going to come out here. And I think this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. A quick recap of how you guarantee to make profit is what you're looking to is to buy low within 10-20% of the lowest possible price. And what you're looking to do is carry those goods around until such times as you find somewhere who's prepared to pay you at least the average price of, say, maybe 10% below, but preferably above the average price. But the key factor is don't hold out for ridiculously high prices. If you get somewhere and the average price is good, that's the time to sell it, because you know that if you're always buying the products cheap, that you're still making a profit. So that's the approach I take. And of course, if you do hit a city where they're really desperate for these goods, then you're really going to make some money. And I think this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.